videos. Today we're just gonna have a little bit of a sit-down chat. I know I usually do vlogs, but I thought that this video could be really helpful for people who are thinking about moving abroad. And so I thought I'd sit down today and talk about the pros and the cons of moving abroad and how my experience has been the last couple of months. So let's get into it. As some backstory, I'm originally from San Francisco, California, and I moved away for college for 4 months, or 4 years, not 4 months, 4 years to another state, and I attended school there, which was Utah. But as college came to a close, I was ready to move on to my next chapter, and so I moved abroad to Marseille, France, in the south of France, and it was the coolest experience. And I lived in Marseille for 3 months. And then I switched to Australia, and I'm currently now living in Melbourne, Australia. So I got my little handy dandy planner right here, and I wrote down my list of pros and cons of things that I have thought about since I have moved abroad. And so now that I've had the perspective of living in America, France, and Australia, I feel that I've kind of been able to figure out what has been really amazing about it and what has been definitely a little bit more hard. So I think we're gonna start off with the cons, okay? The first thing that's hard, this one is probably, you could guess it. It's being away from family and friends. That is probably, without a doubt, the hardest thing living abroad. When you go abroad, you're ready for that new chapter, you're ready to meet new people, you're ready to start a new job or be in a new environment. But what's hard is a lot of the times you have to do it alone, or you go with a significant other, which is another great option as well. But in my case, I decided to go alone and try it out. And the hard thing is your family, your friends, and your pets, they're all gonna still be wherever you're from. And so what made that hard for me is that my family and my friends are kind of back in California and Utah mostly, and so not being able to see them as frequently is definitely very difficult. Also, the time zone difference is difficult as well. Within where I am, it's a 16 to 17 hour time difference with my family and friends. Another con is that I can't go back to one place and have all my friends there. Now my friends pretty much span multiple continents, so that has been something that I've learned to adapt to because I'm not used to that. That's something that's new because of this chapter. I have a big appreciation for social media and for WhatsApp being a place that I can connect with people and still keep that connection going. So that is something that I'm grateful for, and that we have that in today's day and age, because in the olden days you'd have to write letters to each other, or you just might not see someone for 20 years until you run into them again. But luckily we have social media to solve that problem. The last and final con is that the products will probably be somewhat different than what you're used to. For example, when you're looking in medicine, when you're looking in the grocery store, when you're looking at like cosmetics. So for example, my deodorant and my face wash that I'm used to in America does not exist here in Australia. So I'm going to have to transition and try out something new. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that your products most likely will be different unless it's a very like international brand that you can find everywhere. And so that is something that I've learned to adapt to, and it also can be applied to medicine. Certain medicine is very prevalent in the United States, but when you go to Europe or when you go to Australia, it doesn't exist at all. But this makes things exciting, because that means you can try all these new things, but they're just going to be not the same as they are in America. Now that we've talked about the cons, we're gonna move into what the pros are of living abroad, because I could talk about this for hours, honestly hours. So the first thing, independence, guys. It's a roller coaster, honestly. Some days I feel a lot more confident and independent than others, but independence is truly the biggest thing I've learned about living abroad. I've been able to go on trips by myself, take trains by myself, start new jobs by myself, make new friends by myself, like all of these things that have really taught me to be independent and do things on my own. No one's gonna hold my hand for me. It's up to me to make the change. It's up to me to do it. I'm really grateful for it because I now forever will be so much more independent than I was in high school or when I was younger. But independence, I think, is such an important trait to have, and I've really learned that by living abroad. International travel is much easier when you move abroad because then you can just travel not only the country you're in, but you can take trains or planes to countries all nearby. And it's really easy in Europe, and living in the south of France was the perfect place because I could hop over to Belgium, I could hop over to England, I could hop over to Amsterdam, and the flights were like 100 euros. Here in Australia, most flights are a lot further because leaving Australia is kind of far, but I've been able to do road trips through Victoria. I've taken a flight over to Sydney, and I have some future plans to travel more of Australia. Okay, this one is my favorite one, okay? Number 3, my favorite pro. Here we go. I get exposed to new cultures. When you live in a new country, you're exposed to so much newness. Whether it be the new people you're meeting, the new jobs you're doing, the food, okay? The food is unreal. Not only do you have a bigger appreciation for your individual culture, but also for the culture that you're then currently living in. And from there, it's just a lot of fun because you're getting exposed to a bunch of new cultural experiences that ultimately help you grow as a person and help you become a lot more open-minded to people from different backgrounds. And especially here in Australia, it is a cultural melting pot. And I have friends that are from South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, and the United States, and it's amazing that I am meeting people from all these different places of the world, and I'm getting to learn their life stories, and I'm getting to see the value they're bringing to the country and how passionate they are about living here. And I love it. I love having people from all these different backgrounds because they pull back different layers of you, and you learn about yourself, and you're not as closed off, you're not really in a bubble anymore, you're more like open and willing to learn from them, and so that is something that I think is really valuable. Rolling off of that, I think another thing I've learned abroad is being able to appreciate diversity. And I know that goes a lot into culture, but when you grow up in one place and you only know one kind of person, that really narrows your scope of what your perspective is on people and life. But when you go abroad and you're experiencing these new cultures I was just talking about, that also opens you up to diversity. And that is something that I love. I love about living abroad. And then one thing that I'm neutral about is the visas, because depending on where you go, visas can be a pain or they can be not too bad. In Australia, you can do a tourist visa or a working holiday visa, and you can get sponsored. So depending on what country you're going to, you need to look at the visa laws and regulations and see how that would be applicable to you. Also, finding housing abroad is a neutral topic for me because it can kind of be hard, but it also can be easy depending on who you know and how well you use like the different platforms they have online and different websites. I've had friends who've had awful experiences with finding housing abroad, and then I've had friends who've had a housing option that quickly. I looked for my apartment here in Australia for like 4 months. It took me so long to find this apartment, and we canceled like 3 other ones before this one because of problems. And so I definitely had kind of a problem finding housing here, but when I got my apartment in France, easy. Actually, it wasn't that easy because I had to get a French bank, and it was very confusing. But maybe this is a con actually, now that I'm talking about it. Housing can kind of be a con, I guess, but we don't want to end on a sour note, so I think it depends on the situation, and it depends on how easy it is to find housing in the country that you're going to, so that's that. I hope this video gave you some help on the pros and cons on living abroad. I, of course, am going to advocate for it because it's been the best decision I've ever made, probably. Actually, yes, it has been. But I know it's not for everybody, and I know that everyone has their own path in life of what they want to do. But for those of you that are interested in moving abroad, definitely go for it. It can be scary, but don't let your fears hold you back because the whole wide world is out there. So make the world your oyster, or the world is your oyster. The world is your oyster. So you gotta go, seize your opportunities, take what you can, roll with the punches, try new things, because that is what life is about. See you next Friday for another epic one. Bye guys!
Maybe it's just the way that God made me this day.